Hi everybody, welcome to Visually Hidden Selects. I'm Peter O'Brien and today I'm going to be talking to you about John Carpenter's Escape from New York. And a lot of people will try to tell you that it's a B movie, but I assure you, this movie is a masterclass in independent filmmaking. The basic premise for the movie is that in the year 1997, as viewed from 1981, Manhattan Island has been walled off and becomes the country's only maximum security prison. People are not happy with the way the world is at the moment. They decide to hijack Air Force One and crash the president into his own prison. And the only person qualified to get him out of this hell is Snake. Snake Plissken is probably the ultimate cinematic rebel. So for any non-conformist, Snake Plissken is your guy. His backstory, of course, is that he was a soldier, a very highly decorated soldier in the United States military. Ultimately, like a lot of soldiers, especially from the Vietnam era, when they got back from their war, they felt betrayed by their country, and they felt misled, and they felt disenchanted, and then, furthermore, they didn't really have a place in the world, especially for people with their specific skill set. So Snake turned to crime. He is sent to the prison in the beginning of the movie. He robbed the Federal Reserve Bank and was sentenced to life in prison. He's kind of forced into this situation where he has to become a hero. He has to save the day. He is reluctant on all accounts. In that introduction with the police commissioner in his office where he gets the offer to rescue the president, you get to know everything you need to about this character going in. As the story develops and you see more and more of the character, you do get a sense that he is a hero. You do get a sense that he cares about people. This is punctuated at the end of the movie, and not to spoil anything, let's just say that Snake gets the last laugh. The interesting thing with the movie is you only get part of the story. A lot of times when they make a movie, there will be a novelization tie-in that they use to promote the movie, and a lot of times that novelization will be informed by the actual script, in which case the author will take the script and develop the story further and or utilize elements that maybe don't make it into the film. So the novelization is usually a better picture of what was intended for the movie. In the novel, you get a lot more backstory on why Manhattan has become a prison. It was a target of an off-screen war that basically enemies fired nerve gas into the city of Manhattan, causing it to be unlivable. You get hints of this from characters like Cabby, who talks about driving a cab in there for X number of years. The crazies who live underground are the people who used to live in Manhattan, and that's why they're crazy, because they were severely affected by nerve gas. Even the Duke, you can see his eye twitching from time to time while he's driving around or standing around or talking. He has this little nervous disorder, and that's from the nerve gas that was fired into Manhattan. And you only really get that information from the novel, so it's pretty cool. Or Wikipedia. Yeah, the novel is pretty cool. It paints a bigger picture than the movie could afford to do, because it was an independent film, $5 million budget, and that's why I say it's a masterclass in independent filmmaking, because here is an action sci-fi movie on a relatively small budget, but John Carpenter, by this point in his career, he had already had tremendous success in the independent film world. Movies like Assault on Precinct 13, Halloween, The Fog, he even did a few television movies, and this was kind of like the pinnacle of everything he had been working for over the last 5 or 6 years of his career, culminating in Escape from New York. So it's a very, very polished independent film that just utilizes all of the strengths, all of the tricks that one would learn over the course of making films outside of the studio system. I didn't watch Escape from New York until probably the mid-90s when I was in junior high, and I really started to get into film and filmmaking and filmmakers. And I was in the library one day and I was looking up John Carpenter, and I found a book that had his whole filmography in it, and so I just started scratching off the movies I hadn't seen. Escape from New York just jumped right out at me. I mean, of course, it had the John Carpenter score that helps the atmosphere. It had Dean Cundey's beautiful cinematography, and especially a lot of the movie was shot at night, and he just is able to pull these incredible images in the middle of a burned out city. He has this sense of lighting and depth, and you can just look and see all these things that you wouldn't normally see in probably even in reality, because he lights it. Honestly, my favorite part of Escape from New York is Kurt Russell. I just enjoy watching his character move through this story, move through this city, move through this situation. Every time he meets a new character, you get to see more of his character, and it's very interesting and very engaging, again, because he's an anti-hero, because he doesn't want to be there, but he has a mission to complete. It just reveals so much of his character. He's not a very talkative character, but he's a very intense character, and that's probably my favorite part of the movie, is just watching Snake slither through this demented landscape. You know, and in addition to Kurt Russell being the star, which of course he was of the movie, the characters are filled in with a tremendous cast of character actors. Ernest Borgnine as Cabby, Harry Dean Stanton as Brain, Isaac Hayes as the Duke, Donald Pleasence as the President, Adrienne Barbeau as Maggie. I mean, it just goes on, and of course Lee Van Cleef as the police commissioner. It's just a fantastic character actor, feast. You know, looking back now at the year in which this movie takes place, it's irrelevant. You can watch this movie today and just transpose the timeline. John Carpenter and Nick Castle wrote this movie in response to kind of the Nixon era of history, so the 1970s. So already this movie is shifting time, because it was written in the 70s from a 70s point of view. Nixon, Vietnam. It was made in the 80s, taking place in the 90s, and even the fact that an off-screen world war has happened implies that, you know, again, they were probably thinking of Cold War themes. And all you have to do is substitute it and supplement 16 years from now, and you're on the same journey. It doesn't matter that the film takes place in 1997. It's, in its own way, it's kind of timeless. There's only maybe one and a half shots actually filmed in New York. In the beginning of the movie with the Statue of Liberty, that's actually the Statue of Liberty, and then there's a dolly shot where they hide a cut, and then they're back in Los Angeles in the aqueduct where they do the arrival of Snake Plissken. So they didn't actually film this in New York. What they did was they filmed most of it in St. Louis, where there had recently been a fire that burned out a ton of city blocks. To make up for the fact that they were not filming in New York for the most part, they utilized matte paintings, which is when you place a pane of glass in front of the camera and then you paint a landscape or a background on it, and you film through the glass and have the actors visible through the glass. Talking about masterclass in filmmaking, the matte painter on this film was none other than James Cameron, who went on to have a very successful career as a writer and director and deep sea diver. The best way to approach this movie is just with an open mind for entertainment. If somebody's even remotely curious about seeing this movie, maybe you're on the fence and you're doing a little bit of research, I would say if you like independent films, if you like action movies, if you like creative storylines, if you like gritty movies, you're going to have a blast with Escape from New York. So that's it for Escape from New York. If you like the movie, check it out again. If you haven't seen the movie, please take a look and let us know what you think. We'll see you next time.